Hi, so here we are, it's Wednesday, and we thought for 2017 we'd start kicking off a bit of a series of vlogs chatting about the kind of things we get up to at Offbeat and the tours we've been on, the amazing escapade we've had over the last 12 months and what's coming up over the next year. There'll be little bits and pieces about all sorts that we do as a team and various little stories and updates as we go along, but we wanted to chat about 2016 first, didn't we? And the great year we had on the Bowie tour, which was fantastic fun.
Yeah, was indeed. Just going through the catalogue from the tour brings back so many memories. I mean, some of the shots that were tremendously popular caught us by surprise a little, didn't they?
Totally, yeah. I mean, we literally sat at the table behind me deciding what we were putting in the exhibition, trying to get it down to 40 images, and I don't think any of us really at that point had any idea of what was going to take off and what wouldn't, and what people would fall in love with. It was really interesting, wasn't it?
What was very clear was that how much people loved the privileged access that Denis O'Regan got to David Bowie.
Yeah.
You know, the intimate stuff, whether it was at dinner, whether it was in David's hotel room during rehearsal, those sorts of shots. There were mega famous ones that Denis has taken of David live all around the world, and they had their own following, but the intimate ones were tremendously popular.
I think absolutely, and that was one of the huge hits of the tour, but I think the Q&As were incredible. Every time we did a Q&A with Denis at any of the events, they were always different. Every time he'd say something, you'd think, oh my God, how come we've got to event 10 and you've never mentioned something like that before? That's an amazing story. And then you'd get another one at the next event and you'd think, oh, it's just endless stories. That was what that would be my big memory of the tour, was just the amazing stories that Denis has got.
And I think what didn't disappoint, speaking from my own point of view as a fan, people did want to hear that stories that reflected that Denis was a good friend with David, and that they really got on. There were a few arguments thrown in, which of course had their own interest, but people did want to know that Denis knew David really quite well and vice versa, and that came across loud and clear throughout all of the dates. And to think we did 14 dates, we've got another 9 dates now. Extending that tour into the spring just also shows what an enormous draw David Bowie is.
It started out as 8 dates, didn't it? When we planned this, it was going to be 8 dates, and we thought we'll just see. We've got this amazing collection, we've got this beautiful photography that more people should see because it's so amazing. And I don't think either of us thought it would end up being what it ended up being. So no. It was fantastic. So that was amazing. The whole experience was amazing. We met some incredible people in every place that we went to. I mean, it was. It was just really, really lovely to be able to get out there and actually meet people who love the imagery as much as we do and love David as much as we all do.
We had a lot of people who, I say a lot of people, there may have been a dozen or so who just said, oh, it was interesting, but why are you visiting mini showrooms?
They all said that before, but none of them said that as soon as they arrived they went, oh, now we get it, we've walked in, we've seen it, we just didn't get it, and now we totally get it. So I mean, take the cars really out. Nice.
Take the cars out. Some stayed in, a few feature cars, but take the cars out and they become showrooms, of course, but you would think some of the time you'd be in an art gallery. They really worked well with the art, didn't they?
Amazing. And I know it's one of those things that we didn't spend a lot of time talking about on the night, but a lot of people are really fascinated by the whole process of how we can just turn up on the day and turn a car showroom into an art gallery, take it all down again the same night and be on to the next location the next day. I mean, it's an amazing team effort from all our guys who are just incredible on tour. But it just works. It works really, really well, and I'm excited about doing it all again.
It was also the way that the crowds, and they were crowds, were the same all over the UK. There weren't really peaks and troughs when it came to attendance at all.
No, absolutely not.
Pretty much every single venue was a sellout.
Well, Bowie fans are just, I mean, they loved him, and I think that was another part of it. The emotion in people was. It was really amazing to see from the very first event that we did, when we'd been open about 10 minutes of the first event, and I thought, I wonder how this is going to go, and you looked around the room and there were people literally sobbing at what they were seeing. It was an emotional journey. I think it is quite an emotional journey, walking around reading the stories behind each photo. It really was quite an intimate sort of moment for people, and brought back a lot of, obviously at the time when we started the tour, obviously David had only died a few months earlier, and I think it was still quite raw then, but still is with people now, and it was quite an emotional journey really for a lot of people.
Yeah, and I mean, just talking about it reminds me anyway of those first few days after we found out that David had passed away. We were producing work with Denis anyway, but David passing away, it was a tricky time for us to really decide when do we start to take these wonderful photographs on tour, because there's a big period where you think you've got to stay respectful, and we were keen to do so. But I sort of felt we got it right, and the audiences that turned up certainly seemed to feel that we got it right. It was more a celebration.
Well, I think in some ways what we do is often led a lot by what we hear from our customers and from the public who get in touch with us and say, have you got this? We really want to see that stuff. And because so many people were asking to see this stuff that we'd got in archive, it would have been an absolute tragedy if people hadn't got to see it, because and there's still lots more we know, but it needed to be seen really. I think people needed to see it. Yeah. So I don't think that was an issue really. I'm pleased with how that worked out.
It was also interesting the range of buyers for prints was quite interesting, because we had people that had never bought a fine art print before, who perhaps wanted just a memento. Some wanted a feature piece, perhaps for their study at home. But we came across several quite avid collectors who were quite experienced.
And one of the really interesting things I found is people's reasoning behind why they'd chosen the print that they wanted. And what fascinated me was actually quite a lot of people who would come and buy a print and they'd have chosen a print where David was actually not very clearly visible in it. You couldn't really tell who it was, and that's what appealed to them. They liked the fact that actually it was a picture taken from behind David, where all you could see was the back of his head and a hat or something like that, but that's what they liked about it, that there was still that element of mystery. And other people who wanted a full-on self-portrait kind or a portrait kind of picture that really showed David up close and personal. It's just really interesting what people like and what they go for, and it was a real cross-section across the board. So
if you could, in your mind's eye, you've got a still photograph from the tour.
Yeah.
Not a Bowie photograph, but a photograph from the tour, from one of the venues. What would be in the photograph?
Oh, wow. Well, when I think back on the tour, I see people with full glasses, crowds listening to Denis talking, walking around, looking at the artwork, and usually just looking up and chatting to someone else, reading the plaques. It's just a beautiful image of people actually with emotion, feeling happy at what they're seeing, but also that pull of emotion. That's how I remember that beautiful few months that we were touring together as a team. That's how I think of it.
I don't know how you catch on a photograph, but I think my instant top memory is he'll remain nameless, but one of the showroom principals who just kept saying to me all night, "I can't believe it. I can't believe it. I can't believe the crowds. I just can't believe it." Anyway, he just made me laugh all evening.
It was
a great night.
Selfies as well. That was the other thing I loved about the tour, was every time you looked across the room, there were people trying to recreate photos with their phones up in front of them. That was just amazing, seeing how creative people were being, the things they were coming up with. That was fun. There was a real fun element of the tour, which we all really enjoyed, I think. But I look back on it with nothing but amazing, happy memories, and I can't wait actually to finish the next part of the 2017 tour, which I hope will be very similar.
A year on from David's passing, here we go, a new year.